Welcome to another episode of Breakthrough, a Dale Carnegie podcast. And I'm super excited about our guest that we have today. I've had the privilege of working with Ava over the years. And one of the things that Ava really brings, she's got experience of working with adults and young adults, particularly to help them achieve and reach their full potential. In fact, Ava, you've got quite a keen eye for recognizing potential and identifying challenges that people may face, and then coaching them how to get their best selves to show up, right?
Yes.
Why don't you just start off, please, by telling us your story, if you would, please.
Definitely. So thank you for having me. It's my honor. It's funny because you mentioned this quality of seeing potential in others, and I've always been like that. And I've always, since I was a kid, I've seen things differently, and it used to annoy me a bit, and people around me, because they're like, can't we just do it like this? I mean, do we have to look at other sides of the cube? So I like looking at all the angles. So when I got into Dale Carnegie training, I mean, I had gone to multiple courses myself before I became a trainer, and I realized that was like coming home for me, with this quality of seeing potential in people and like pulling it out and helping people embody it. So
I mean,
yeah.
If you think about seeing things differently, right? There's a whole, one of the skills for the future is creative thinking, think out of the box, problem solving. How has this talent of yours, I guess, or this insight that you bring, motivated you to grow your path or grow your career within the organization?
I mean, I think a great question that I have on repeat in my mind is, how is this day getting better? Or how, I wonder what amazing thing is going to happen if I talk to this person, or I network with this one, or I try this new thing today. And it's always like this open field of possibilities. And I guess that's my narrowed down answer to that.
One of the things I think about is what inspires us as individuals to choose the path that we take, right? But what was your breakthrough moment? If you think about your career or what you're choosing to do now, what was your breakthrough moment?
I mean, I had this, aside from just going through a Dale Carnegie course, I have to say that. I mean, that was a complete game changer for me. I was 13 when I first went through a course.
Oh, wow. 13.
Yeah.
Geez.
And I had completely not seen my own potential. Self-confidence training and comfort zone, that wasn't even a part of my vocabulary. So that in itself was a huge breakthrough. And then I think when I realized, I think my biggest breakthrough with, going through this work myself and then training others, is that there are things in life that you can't control, but there are so many things that you can. And that's your self-confidence and your brain, and how you can navigate yourself. I thought that was just something that was out of my control. And I would just have to, go with the flow, and didn't have a say in where I wanted to go. And I mean, I was young, but now I'm 30, and I just recently realized this, that I had this complete, I can just talk to my brain, and my brain is not the boss of me. It's a partner in my life, but I can, I can be in the driver's seat, and my brain is in the passenger seat. And it has a lot to say, but I can, navigate my life in my way.
I think that's quite profound when you say that there are things in my control. You say, are things outside of our control?
Yeah.
Take us through when you recognize that I am actually in control. What is the thought process that changes your behavior to say, hey, this is something I can control and take the right action forward. What is your process of driving that or doing that, you know?
I think the first, seed of this was when and it's amazing to, it's mind blowing to think about, but when you really get, and I know this is a Dale Carnegie podcast, but this is just the truth of it. I think the seed of it was when I received all the principles in the training, and I saw, okay, this is something that's, I like it when things are technical and I can just see something that works and I can use it. I'm a very, spiritual and flowing person, but I like it when I can see, okay, this process makes sense and it works. And when I saw that the principle in, what's it called in English, in communication?
Say it any way you want to, it's all good.
That was kind of the beginning of it, because I saw that when I used these principles in communicating with people, my friends, family, networking, all kinds of people, and myself, to be honest, it made such a difference. So I saw, okay, there's something that I can, navigate and use and kind of control the outcome of communicating to people. And I mean, communication is like, man, it's like 90% of life.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's so huge.
Your focus on I can communicate and I can make a difference. There's a label that's been placed on, the Gen Zs where they don't communicate, they withdraw, and etc. And I think sometimes that's a label that is painted on everyone, which is possibly unfair, right? Now you're saying communication is 90% of it. What are you seeing in Iceland? What are you seeing with the people that you're coaching and mentoring, that you're saying, hey man, if we do this thing differently, this communication thing, or we show up differently, that it really makes a difference? What are you seeing, and what is the advice that you're giving these people to be more impactful or more intentional?
That's a huge question. I think that, because in Iceland, we're such a small country.
Yeah.
It's like 360,000, of us. It's not a lot. And the thing in Iceland where we say networking is everything. Everything is about knowing people and the opportunities in life. And I don't think that only applies to Iceland. I think that's, worldwide, but it's so potent in Iceland because we're so small. But the opportunities in my life that have come to me because I, approached a person and used communication principles and showed interest and, attracted people to me, because people like when you ask them questions, when you show them interest. It's just what happens. It's so simple, but it takes self-confidence and, some courage and training, but it's there. And the opportunities are insane. My life is surreal because I approached people and made them feel like they matter to me, and that, I want to see them and I want to hear what they have to say. And then it kind of just snowballs and becomes this great thing. But I have to say that when I was younger, I thought that this would never be a possibility for me. I was so shy, Neville. I was so shy. And I couldn't imagine being a person that would just approach life and grab it, by the horns, if you can say that.
Where did that shift come? Go ahead. You have to go ahead. Please share.
I have to mention, because you mentioned that the unfairness of this label young people are getting today. I think it's so unfair that they have to go through adolescence with social media. I'm so glad that that wasn't the case for me. The pressure is unreal. And, not only with the social media, but the communication style is so much different now. It's a lot more typing and emojis. You show emotion through emojis, and it's and if it isn't that, it's voice notes, but you're never looking people in the eye. I mean, of course you do that in life, but I think that young individuals that are growing up right now and, learning how to grab life by the horns, this is kind of, this, it's, what's the word? It's an essential puzzle piece that I think a lot of people forget, that this is, they don't get the training it is to look a person in the face, in the eyes, and, be authentic. And you know where I'm going with this?
I do. And I think, and I guess, what advice do you give your own children then? Because, we have a family of our own, and we want them to stay connected in the social media world, because for them, social media, or for young kids, young adults, social media, those are real relationships. I grew up in an environment where Facebook, that was not a real relationship. Real relationships were the people I saw face to face. Whereas now, with social media, those relationships are so real, even though they may have never really met and had an intimate in-person relationship. Those relationships are real and genuine. So what advice are you giving your own kids? And what advice are you, or how do you plan to do it differently in your own home, or with the people that you're mentored, to say, hey, those are real, let's engage, but also know that showing up in person is just as important. Maybe not less so, but maybe just as. what are the things that you may be doing or thinking of making that difference?
This is such a good point, because it is networking. They're so fast doing it on social media. And I'm saying they are, but I am too. I'm there. It's social media. Everybody's there. And I totally get it, but I just feel lucky to have that skill that I was, kind of forced to train myself to talk to people differently. And now I have that skill. So I think we have to just look at it the other way and say, okay, now you're really good at communicating over there. And then we have to kind of train that other part of, face-to-face communication. But I think, and I really hit a wall with this myself, and that's my, I think, advice to parents and teachers, to put down the phone and look your kids in the eyes, or just, be a part of their training in communicating, and just, do it with them, because this device right here, it imprisons me sometimes. And I think a lot of people connect with that, because it's this, I'm very interested in the dopamine rush that we get through the phone. And that's just the brain. I'm very interested in the brain and how it works. And it's always seeking out, if it's used to, getting, this happiness hormone that we call dopamine, like that, and then again and again and again, when just scrolling, and, you get it on demand. It's right there. And when it's difficult to put it down. It really is. I've had, my friend told me the other day that her son, that's 9, called her from his room, or no, he sent her a voice note. Mom wants dinner. And she was like, wow, this is how it is right now. And we can't change that. We can make it fun, maybe, but I think we always have to keep pushing ourselves to keep that human connection, because without human connection, we can go all the way into the deep and dark corners of that, but without human connection, some horrible things can happen in your brain, and the loneliness and things,
and that loneliness, and that loneliness, and that depression sinks in, and that mental wellness and well-being is a real issue. You mentioned something that I think is quite profound when you said we've got to be involved in their communication skills, as a parent or as a teacher, and you also said make it fun, right? And what I love is that you also recognize that, hey, you made it. You said you are good at communicating that way. Let's teach you how to communicate this way too.
Right.
How could we create that bridge as a parent or an educator? How could we create that bridge and say, hey, you communicate really well with this device.
Mm-hmm.
How could you bring that into the in-person world? So take the skill you have here and bring it in person. What might be, in your opinion, some things that could make that happen?
I think just maybe navigating a chat where you go, okay, so you're so good at communicating over there. How is this different? And then they go, okay, so well, it's eye contact. I find it super uncomfortable. I'm not used to it. I feel like people are looking into my soul, and there are all kinds of reasons why like face-to-face communication is more difficult or different. But I think if you have a chat where you ask, okay, how is it different? I think it's uncomfortable to look at a person. Okay, how do you talk to people on social media, and just kind of pull the strengths out of that one, so the person can see, okay, so I do that really well. Actually, I wasn't aware of that. And then maybe just asking, is there a possibility that this skill that you have, it's a strong skill, could you use it in different situations, and where would be a good place to start? What's maybe the least uncomfortable for you to begin training? Is it grandma, or is it me, or is it your teacher or friend? Where can you start implementing this skill over here, so you can see how capable you are in different fields?
Yeah, I think that's around how we, I guess, parent, and it's also how we start those conversations and have those dialogues, right, Eva?
Yeah.
We want to have those conversations. And I guess it starts with leadership, right? So it's how we lead those dialogues and how we influence the communities. Now, I know you host a very successful podcast in Iceland, right? And what made you decide to go into that and to drive that as a goal of yours? Just tell us more about that.
I think a main driving source there was passion.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It does not feel like work. It just doesn't. And now it is my work mainly,
That's
but
stunning.
I started it with my friend Sylvia, who's also a trainer at Dale Carnegie. And we just became, best friends through that. So thank you, Dale Carnegie. And it's strange. We used to meet up for coffee, and then we would say, yeah, let's chat for an hour. And then it would be 4 hours. And we would realize, wow, we're really obsessed with talking about how humans work and operate, and to, find better ways of doing things and more efficient ways, or just ways to upgrade your life and be happy. And we thought, what a shame to, just keep this between us.
Yeah.
So I have this moment, this core memory, where I was training here in Iceland. I had a group of people, just the classic Dale Carnegie course. And I was gonna, put a timer on my phone for like, let's chat for 2 minutes, go. And then I look at my phone, and Sylvia is sending me a message. And she says, why don't we just start a podcast? And I was like, what a neat idea. And then just, the days go by. And then we just kind of, it happened, I'm not going to say effortlessly, because it was work, but it never felt like work because it was so much fun. And we just wanted to create something that would bring people together, and the value of people relating to what we were talking about, how people feel sometimes, and what happens in life sometimes, and how we navigate through it all. People started sending us messages like, oh my God, I thought I was alone. Thank you for talking about this in such a raw way. So yeah, that's how it happened. And now it's kind of like a community of people, which is fun, because I feel like Dale Carnegie is also a community of people just wanting to better themselves and be more powerful in life. And it kind of works together. We've had this like specially manufactured Dale Carnegie course for our podcast listeners. So we had like 30 people that, signed on for a Dale Carnegie course with me and Sylvia as trainers together.
Oh, wow.
So much fun, Neville. It was so much fun.
But you're saying that people find value in that raw conversation that you're having, and you talk about it's about to be happy, but often people recognize that there's a trauma or there's a sadness, and they need to engage that sadness, they need to engage that trauma so that they can find that happiness. What would you say around that? Do you think that people sometimes close in instead of sharing and opening up? What are you finding in your from your podcast listeners and from the work that you're doing?
I think that people feel fear a lot, and I'm saying this, from my heart, because it, that was, I feel that in myself. And when we talk about fearing something, we get extra response, from the podcast. I think people oftentimes are, afraid to just, how do you say, just tell it like it is, or share a feeling that's maybe, that maybe has a grip on them. And the fear can be so many things. I mean, fear of rejection, or you tell someone something and they're not listening, or they don't hear you the way that you needed them to hear you or see you. And I think there are so many reasons for this. But having trauma in your body and not letting it out, it's like kind of having, I use this metaphor, it's kind of having someone knocking at your door constantly, and it begins like this knock knock, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to open, I don't want to let this feeling in for coffee at all, and then it just starts knocking, harder and harder, and it's louder and louder, and you're like, okay, I really don't want to let this feeling in. I'm scared of it. I'm scared that this feeling might, take over, or somebody might see me with this feeling or not understand it or something. But as soon as you open the door and let the feeling in, just have it for coffee, have a chat with it. What do you want? Why are you here? Dear feeling, or trigger, or, some kind of, trauma is a huge thing in your body, and you have to let it through or out. Sometimes the only way out is through. That's just the way it is, or else it's going to sit in your system. So developing the courage, and I think that's so beautiful about the Dale Carnegie courses, is that you see what you're capable of, and you see your self-confidence grow. And when you feel that concrete self-confidence, that's when I feel like you're able to welcome a feeling and say, you can come, and be with me, and I'm going to cry, and I'm going to let it through, but you're not going to defeat me. I'm like a rock here. You're not going to shake me in any way, though I may cry.
Yeah, I think sometimes we've got to cry, right? It's that vulnerability, we've got to show that vulnerability. And in the studies with psychological safety in organizations as well, they're saying, show that vulnerability because it inspires others to do the same. So I love how you say, let that in, because the only way is through, right? The only way out is through. And that's such a nice way. It's such a nice way to put it, Ava, in terms of aligning that. Where do you get your passion from, and your love for this human side of things? I mean, where do you get that from?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I think, witnessing the magic in my life that I thought I was going to be shy forever. I really thought I was going to just kind of, what's it called when you walk really like silently? What's that called?
You're tiptoeing across.
Tiptoeing, yeah. I thought I would tiptoe through life and just watch other people grab life and, have fun, because they had all the self-confidence. So I think I have that passion because I saw and I felt it so greatly in my life that I was wrong. I've never been so happy to be wrong. It felt good to be wrong about that, because the potential and the opportunities in life are just insanely exciting. And when I realized that I can allow myself to just grow and be uncomfortable and get bigger and kind of play on the playground of life.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be such a shame to just sit on the bench and watch everyone else play.
Yeah.
And you would think, oh, wouldn't that be nice? But I'm afraid of the swings. I can't go there.
It's a
I
nice way to
think
put
life
it.
is such a playground. Yeah, it's such a playground, and everything is possible. And I know that's weird to say, and some people might think that's unfair to say that everything is possible for everybody. But I think as soon as you have a chat with your brain and ask it, why do you back out of situations? Why do you respond like that? What do you need? What are you afraid of? You get such juicy content. Talk about social media. You get such juicy content from your own system that you can kind of, work through that, let that go, whether it be with a coach, trainer, teacher, psychiatrist, whatever is for you. Then you can, feel that relief as soon as the brain realizes, okay, I'm not the boss. I always say my heart is the boss, and my brain is like an associate that gets to say things sometimes and then not. When I say it can't be a part of things, then it kind of takes the back seat. But there's this lightness and this freedom feeling of that when you allow yourself to go through that and see why you're backing away from life. That's when you can just start running and laughing and having fun on the playground.
But you do have fun. You have this fun spirit. I mean, I remember when I was visiting you in Iceland, you have this fun, mischievous, joyful side as well, which definitely
Thank you.
adds to that, and it gives people the permission to do the same, to have that fun. I'm going to steal a line from you. The brain is not the boss. The heart is the boss. That is stunning. Yeah. But what I also love, you've got the solution-oriented mindset where you're saying, ask yourself, why do I back away from that? What do I need? And you can find the solution in your content, in your social media content. So if I'm on TikTok or if I'm on, and I can see these motivational things, are you saying take strength from that and make the decision to change, overpower who you are? Okay, stunning.
Definitely. I mean, you can watch people be winners in their own life constantly on social media, and everybody's like, oh, I just did this and that, and I read that book and I went to this course, and I'm like, I'm free, and it's such a it's a weird thing, watching that and hoping that something will change, but it doesn't unless you interrupt that pattern and do something differently, and just take a different lane to school, or just interrupt your brain in the coziness that it is in. And kind of, when you start making your brain a little bit uncomfortable in new situations, it receives the message of, oh, okay, so we do try new things. Oh, so we don't have to do all the same things every day. And this is like over everything. I mean, the food that you eat, or how you move your body, or how you talk to yourself and other people. If you change something in it, it helps your brain register, oh, this is how we do things now. But I wanted to mention, I did this meditation once, and I just recommend it to everybody, especially for maybe parents and teachers that are, helping young adults, but also dealing with themselves, and their own triggers and their own past and their own ways of doing things. This meditation it's not long. I just pick any song that, is soothing, and I just close my eyes and breathe. Breathing is my number rule in life. Please breathe deeply. If you can't, it's a sign that you have to train yourself to do it. But I breathe, and then I close my eyes and I imagine myself in just a peaceful place. And then I see a person walking towards me, and it's me when I was little. And I have this conversation with her when I'm like, okay, do you want to say anything to me? Or is there something that you always needed to, be seen or heard, or about anything? What is it that you need? Because I like to call my triggers my younger self, because it's some part of me that needs something, that's like still searching for an approval
I
of
love
some
that.
sort, or something that's driving my subconscious that just isn't working, and it's making me back out of life. So I had this conversation in this meditation, just what do you need? And it turned out did she need a hug? I mean,
Wow.
she needed to feel that she could trust me for life, and a lot of self-confidence came with that, because I was like, okay, I'll take it from here. I got it. I got us. You can relax. You can be a kid, go play. You don't
Fantastic.
need to work so hard for approval now. Like, we got it. You're approved. It's all good. Chill.
I
And I
love
mean,
that.
I will say I cried a lot. And I like to think of crying as like just the body releasing trauma, or tension.
Nice.
It's nothing more than that. It's not scary. It's just letting conflict out of your body.
I love that. It releases tension and conflict out the body. And that's not you training your brain, right? We're interrupting the brain and letting them know that this is okay.
Right? Yeah.
Eva, just loving talking with you. I could listen to you for
You
an
too.
hour. Easy. I
Learn Icelandic and listen to my podcast.
No, maybe I was going to translate an app going. I must definitely do that. I love that you're having the success that you're having. I'm delighted to hear that it's going well. But if I could ask you one final question, what advice do you have for the young adults that are listening to this podcast, the Gen Zs? What advice would you have for them based on the experience you've had and the growth that you've had in your career?
I would say you're allowed to live your life the way you want to. Get out of your own way, and please remember that life is a playground. And if you just learn how to play your own game, you're gonna have fun.
Yeah, have fun by playing our own game. Love that.
Yeah.
Eva, it's been wonderful hosting you. I hope we can have you again in a future series.
Yes.
Or a future
Always
episode.
a pleasure chatting with you.
I wish you all the success. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.